Hello everyone, welcome to Homework Help. If you find the videos useful, please subscribe to the channel. So in this video, we'll solve this trigonometry equation. So the given equation is 2 times cosine of x plus 3 times tan of x equals 0. And we are given the domain here for x as 0 to 360 degrees. So that means the final answer for x should be between 0 and 360 degrees, including 0 and 360 degrees. Now, just like in any other equation, we have to solve for the variable, and the variable in this equation is x. Now, the first step here is to simplify this equation. Cosine is a primary ratio, so we cannot simplify it. But tan can be broken down into sine over cos. So our first step is 2 cos x plus 3 sine x over cos x and equals 0. Now we have to combine these two terms. So we have to find a common denominator. Now the denominator of cos x is 1. So here we'll have to multiply the numerator of this first fraction by cos x and the denominator by cos x. So we get 2 cos square x over cos x plus 3 sine x over cos x equals 0. So now the two fractions have a common denominator. We can add them. So we get 2 cos square x plus 3 sine x over cos x equals 0. Now we can cross multiply the denominator to get rid of the denominator. So we get 2 cos square x plus 3 sine x equals 0. Now this equation has two trig ratios, cos and sine, but there is a square on cos. So we have to figure out a way to get only one trig ratio in this equation. And for that, we can use the Pythagorean identity. So we can change cos square x into 1 minus sine square x. So 2 parentheses 1 minus sine square x plus 3 sine x equals 0. Now there is only one trig ratio in this equation. So we just have to simplify it and then solve it to find the value of x. So the first step is to distribute the 2 in the parentheses. So we get 2 minus 2 sine square x plus 3 sine x equals 0. And now we can rearrange the terms. So we get minus 2 sine square x plus 3 sine x plus 2 equals 0. Now this is a quadratic equation for sine x. So I can help you visualize it or understand it better this way. So I can change sine square x to minus 2 sine x square plus 3 sine x plus 2 equals 0. So now we have to solve this quadratic equation. So for that, we'll have to either factor this equation or use the quadratic formula. Now this is a trinomial and it's a complex trinomial because the coefficient of the square term is not 1. So we can factor this equation. So for that, we can factor out negative 1 from all three terms to make the first term positive. That makes it easier to factor the trinomial. So we can factor out the negative and that changes the sign of all terms. So we get 2 sine x square minus 3 sin x minus 2 equals 0. So now we can use the decomposition method to factor this expression. So we have to find two numbers whose sum is equal to negative 3 and the product is equal to 2 times negative 2, which is equal to negative 4. So the negative 3 comes from the coefficient of the sin x term. This 2 comes from the coefficient of the sin x square term. And then the negative 2 is the number term. And now we have to focus on the product number to find the two numbers. So the first pair of numbers that comes to my mind is negative 1 and 4. Now if we add negative 1 and 4, we get a sum of positive 3, not negative 3. So that means we have to switch the sign on these numbers. So the numbers should be 1 and negative 4 because 1 plus negative 4 is equal to negative 3 and 1 times negative 4 is equal to negative 4. So that means the two numbers we are looking for are 1 and negative 4. Now we can use these two numbers to break up this middle term. So our next step is, so we'll keep the negative sign outside the bracket. So it'll be 2 sin x square plus 1 sin x minus 4 sin x and then minus 2 equals 0. So the square term and the number term stay the same. We just break up the middle term using the two numbers. Now we can factor this expression using the grouping method. So we pair up the first two terms, we pair up the last two terms. So from each pair, we find a common factor. So from the first pair, we can factor out sin x. And we are left with 2 sin x plus 1 in the parentheses. Now from the second pair, we can factor out negative 2 because the first term in that pair is a negative term. And now in the parentheses, we are left with 2 sin x plus 1. And then close the bracket equals 0. Now we can write this equation in the factored form. So the factored form will be, so the first factor will be 2 sin x plus 1 because it's common to both terms. And then the other factor will be sin x minus 2 equals 0. So this is the fully factored form of this quadratic equation we got for sin x. Now to solve this equation, we have to set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. So the first factor is 2 sin x plus 1 equals 0. And the second factor will be sin x minus 2 equals 0. Now we'll isolate sin x from the first factor. So first we'll subtract 1 from both sides. So we get 2 sin x equals 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. And we'll divide both sides by 2 to isolate sin x on the left side. So we get sin x equals negative 1 over 2. Now we have to find the x values in this given domain 0 to 360 degrees, including 0 and 360 degrees. So for this, we can use the cast rule. So cast rule tells us the sign of these trig ratios in the four quadrants. So we can label them. So the cast rule, the ASTC rule, or all sad turtles cry rule. So they all represent the same idea. So here sine is negative. That means this angle lies in quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. The beta value or the reference or the related acute angle value will be inverse of sine for 1 over 2. So we ignore the negative sign for the reference angle or the related angle. So beta equals 30 degrees. So that means our first solution for x will be, so in the third quadrant we do 180 degrees plus 30 degrees, which is equal to 210 degrees. So this is our first solution. Now the second solution will be 360 degrees minus 30 degrees, which is equal to 330 degrees. So these are the two solutions from the first case. Now we have to analyze the second case. So for the second case, we have to isolate x, sin x by adding 2 to both sides. So the 2's on the left side cancel each other out. So we get sin x equals 2. Now this is an invalid situation because sin x lies between -1 and +1. So this is an invalid solution, or we get no solution. So therefore, there are only two solutions to this equation, which are 210 degrees and 330 degrees. So if you find the video useful, please share it, like it, and subscribe to Homework Help. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.